Hello, and welcome to this week's PennEnergy News Update. I'm Hilton Price. A major blow for French oil firm Total SA, as France's top court has ruled to uphold a criminal conviction of the company in association with a 1999 oil spill. In that case, an oil tanker hired by the company spilled around 20,000 tons of oil along the coast of Brittany in northwestern France after running aground during a storm. Total has already paid more than $500 million in fines and cleanup costs for the spill. In recent years, the company has been working on overturning a criminal conviction holding it responsible for the disaster. The last remaining option now for Total would be to bring the case to the European Court of Human Rights. Oil exploration in the Gulf of Mexico has started to climb back toward the record highs seen before the oil spill at the Deepwater Horizon in 2010. At its peak in 2009, offshore oil wells in the Gulf accounted for around 1/3 of U.S. oil production. Between the moratorium that followed the Deepwater Horizon spill and the rise of production from U.S. unconventional oil reserves, the Gulf's share of output has fallen to around 20% and is expected to continue falling. However, offshore oil exploration in the region has begun to rise rapidly once again, as more companies look to take advantage of the higher oil prices available to crude produced in those coastal regions. Within the next 10 years, production is projected to rise by roughly 28%. Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner is talking about a financial link between the National Iranian Oil Company and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The Revolutionary Guard are employed as an internal military force and have been accused of both human rights abuses and supporting terrorists. But the group has grown to become a major political force over the past decade as well, emerging as one of the driving forces behind Iran's nuclear ambitions. Geithner says the Revolutionary Guard draws a substantial proportion of its funding from the NIOC, which accounts for more than half of all Iranian revenue. The Iranian oil minister has announced that the country's oil production numbers have remained largely steady through 2012, defying estimates from Western nations. The U.S. Energy Information Administration had projected that oil output in Iran would fall by around 850,000 barrels per day, or slightly more than 24% of last year's production. But the country's Minister of Petroleum insists that the U.S. and European sanctions have not forced a slowdown. While the official line has held firm on production, the Financial Times reports that a government official has admitted to a decline in oil exports. Israel and one of the governing Palestinian groups are working on an agreement that would allow for natural gas exploration off the coast of Gaza in the Mediterranean Sea. Palestine is under a continual blockade both by land and by sea, making commerce a near impossibility. However, peace envoy and former British Prime Minister Tony Blair was able to negotiate with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to open up the coastal waters off the western Gaza Strip. In turn, the Palestinian Authority would collect duties on all of the natural gas produced. The biggest holdup is that the Gaza Strip is not actually under the control of the Palestinian Authority, but rather breakaway group Hamas. The two recently fought a civil war, and offshore gas exploration could exacerbate the conflict between the two. Thank you for joining us this week. For these stories and more, head to PennEnergy.com.